Welcome to the greatest show on earth, and that is another episode of the MLO Project. And joining me always is Mr. Excitement, Michael McAllister. Michael, what is up, buddy?
Wah, wah, wah. What's up, dude? What's up? How are you doing? How are you this morning?
I'm doing great. Every day. Every day is
Every day?
Every day is a great day. Good days I'm okay. Bad days I'm okay, man. Only way to fly. Only way to fly. So how you doing? How you living?
I'm good. I had to come in early this morning to record, so I didn't get to. Maybe that's why. That's why I was hearing you say that, and I was like, man, normally I start my day out by saying it's a great day to be alive, and I'm yelling that through the house at 7 a.m. because my kids do not like getting up early. They're homeschooled, and it was probably about we started going to the office early. Changed our hours from 9 to 5 to 8 to 4 about a year ago. And when we did that, we stopped getting our kids up in the morning because we were like, oh, it's not their fault. And then, now my daughter's 13, my son's 7. I'm like, fuck that. They're old enough to get up at 7 o'clock in the morning. And so I do every morning now, full circle. Every morning I walk through the house and I say, when it's time to get up, I give a cock-a-doodle-doo. So maybe that should be my thing now. Intro is the They love that. They absolutely love it. No, they actually hate it. But then I say it's a great day to be alive, and I say that over and over until they get out of their freaking beds. So,
all right. Well, we're not going to do that on.
How you doing, Michael?
Yeah, no, we're not doing that. Well, I don't know. We'll see. I'll leave it up to you, man. However you want to intro yourself. If you want to come in like the rooster, then you come in like the rooster, buddy. It's America, right? Like we're all about doing whatever you can. All right. Well, today's topic, my friends, is a doozy. So this was an overheard. I think it's whatever. It's me hearing something from someone else. They asked my opinion. They said, "Hey, I was talking to this LO, and they made this statement to me, and I want to get your opinion." And so I'm bringing it up because we're going to talk about it. I want to get Michael's opinion on it. I have my opinion on it. And then, guys, just like always, if you have an opinion on this, then let us know. We would love to have you on as a guest, and let's talk about it. But the statement was this: in 18 months, AI is going to eliminate, not like disrupt or change or whatever, but in 18 months, the originator, and specifically the wholesale originator, was going to be gone for AI. So I heard that. They asked me my thoughts, and my thoughts were like, look, I'm all about making, some nice headlines and claims. I did this famously. I was right, by the way, but I did this famously during I always bring the story up. I don't think I ever told it on here or not, but I have not been invited back to speak at an MBA event since I made this, when I said that in 36 months that there's going to be lenders in this room that are not here anymore simply because they don't understand what the market is doing, understand what consumer is doing. Now I was right. But
that's not even that bold.
That's not even that bold. Yeah. At the
36
time,
36 months, a lot can happen in 3 years.
This was a while ago, right? So like, and I was laughing, and that it was funny. I was on. So Laura Brandeo had me on. I was doing a talk with her, and it was funny. After we were just kind of doing and she was just cracking up. She's like, yeah. And then you come in and say that, hey, 36 months, some of you lenders aren't going to be here anymore, and this is why. You know what I mean? So it was just kind of funny. But I have not been invited back to an MBA event since then. But look, I'm all about it. But I disagree with that statement, because I think there's it's one thing to say like AI is going to disrupt, which it actually will. Now, it's not to say that AI isn't going to disrupt at a high level over the next decade, which I absolutely will. I don't think the originator is the first one to get hit, though, and we could get into that. But anyway, my whole opinion, or I want to kick it over to you here in a second, but like, when they said that, I'm like, no, that's just nonsense. It just is, because here's the thing, is that like, we don't do anything in 18 months, right? As an industry, right? Because here's the thing, is that like, the industry has to play a part in what happens at some form or fashion. And I'm sorry, but they're not getting together to figure out how to assert, how to do whatever within 18 months. Not going to happen. Because here's the thing, AI, in order for it all comes down to the investors. And if once the investors say they're okay with no humans touching part of the process at all, and they have a way on their back end to have like a second pair of eyes on these things and whatnot, or they have AI systems that they trust, right? Because like we're talking about, real money here. Until that happens at scale, nothing is going to take the humans out of the silo, so to speak, right? For those of you that watch War Games, right, with Matthew Broderick, but no one's taken the human element out of the silo. On top of that, until the consumer says they're okay at scale with dealing with non-humans, which we've all seen the opposite of that since COVID, is wanting more human interaction, then that's going to play a part in too. And the third thing is where I've seen AI fail the most is when it comes to outside of the box type thinking, right? And we all know that not every loan is going to be a vanilla loan, and we also know that some of these lenders that are deploying AI systems up front already will deny loans that are closed somewhere else for that reason. So that is my whole just real down and dirty why I think that statement's kind of ridiculous. And then I could go deeper as we go, but I want to get your opinion on that statement about the AI removing the need for the loan officer in 18 months.
Yeah, I mean, I like, I think we could break this down into two separate pieces. Number one, will AI replace loan originators? At some point, probably, probably, but I think it'll be the last role in the loan process that'll be replaced, because as we've seen, and we talked about this at the High Table Mastermind, like the best use of AI right now is creating more human interaction, and like the best hires that you can make right now, like we were talking to First Coast, right? And First Coast, and how they're like outsourcing pieces, like they're isolating pieces of their loan production process and outsourcing that. And then what it's doing is it's allowing them to, like, when they hire processors, they now, whereas with a loan processor, you used to look for somebody that was just super detail oriented, super checklist driven, maybe like a lot of C within their personality, maybe a little bit of S. Nowadays, right, on the disc, right, conscientiousness, steadiness, maybe that's what you're looking for in a processor. Nowadays, like, you want people, you want people with more I tendencies, you want people that present really well, because all of the other stuff is being done behind the scenes. And so when you look at the mortgage manufacturing process, starting from origination all the way to post close, like the one, in my opinion, that's at the least risk of being replaced is the originator. Now, if you're an originator that doesn't sell and you rely 100% on referrals and even then, like, as long as the real estate agent's in the transaction, then you're still going to have an opportunity there too. But if you're an originator that like takes yourself out of the process and out of engaging with consumers, then you probably are at more risk of being disrupted than others. But in general, I just feel like the people-facing people that bring business in the door are the people that are the least likely to be disrupted or replaced by AI. Now, again, I could see AI replacing processors. I could see AI replacing underwriters. Even then, like, you would have to make a really, really good case for me to concede that that's even remotely possible in the next 18 months. But those are going to come before originators, in my opinion. And so that's why I even struggle to say that definitely loan originators are going to be an extinct, breed within 20 years. I mean, again, 20 years is a long time when you look at how far technology has come, but the originator piece of it, I just feel like is going to remain the most crucial piece of it. And what's going to become outsourced to technology, AI, overseas, whatever, like those pieces are going to be the back office, the underwriting, the processing, the closers, the funders, like all of that stuff will get replaced long before an originator does. So you'll be able to see it coming, and there's no way in hell that it's happening in 18 months. I think that's an idiotic take, honestly.
Oh no, I agree with pretty much everything that you said. And actually I agree with everything you said. I will say, like, there's already replacements done on the fulfillment side or the back office side with AI. So I don't think that is like, now if you told me that underwriters and processors could be replaced in 18 months, I would actually kind of buy that to a certain extent on the mechanical. And then what you would have is you would have processor. It's not like eliminating it, but you would have processors being more of that second look expertise, like,
Right.
because you have that in underwriting too, because you have like junior underwriters and whatnot, and then you have like the ones that are experts that would be like that second look on certain things. So I do so me, it's like AI is built for replacing mechanical, mundane, check the box type processes, which a lot in the mortgage, which a lot of the back office is. Now there's certain ways of looking at things, there's certain ways that files are done and whatnot that needs that human look. But I think there's where it's like, okay, look, let's say I have a team of like 20 underwriters. I might be able to get rid of 10 of them, right? And replace it with AI mechanics. And so, because that 10 would be able to underwrite a lot more files in the day, because most of the mechanical mundane stuff is done ahead of time. And then really the important shit is done by them. So that's where I kind of see, like, within the 18 next months, if
like a
if it's
consolidation, not a replacement, a
correct.
consolidation.
Yeah, consolidation, right? And then like I said, because also it's like we also assume that AIs don't have hallucinations still, right? And they massively do. Every model that I've used has screwed up, and I'm gonna say screw up, but like haven't given like what I would consider like an acceptable output, right? Or hallucinator, or they don't listen to instructions, right? So that's where we're currently at. And like I said, is that we're just like in the batter's box when it comes to AI right now. Like, we haven't even got up to plate on what we could do. So in the next 18 months, like I said, a lot has to happen. And a lot of it has to happen with the industry, like, I wouldn't say coming together, but agreeing on certain standards and certain things. And that just has never been the case, never will be the case, right? Like, look at things that are mandated, like TRID and whatnot. Like, that shit goes on for like 2 years before like you know what I mean? Like, there's just a lot of different things that that have to happen in order for that to be it. But I agree with your take that the originator is the last one to be replaced by AI at all, for a lot of different reasons. But because you're bringing business in, because when you're talking about AI from beginning to end, you're really thinking about like consumer direct from like an ads perspective, like you're running ads or whatnot. And we just talked about this on our last podcast episode about Uncle Rico. But our last podcast episode about what agents, especially the ones that are like doing high, they're not going to ever refer a shit to like some AI, whatever, right? They're going to refer it to their preferred lender, preferred partner, LO or whatever, right? So you'd have to get agents to do that as well. So like, look, can it cause a dent in some originators? But those originators weren't going to be in that ecosystem anyway. Because to me, it's like what you're replacing is maybe the call center LO, right? Like it. Right. So if you're thinking about what LOs get replaced, you're the ones that are sitting at the desk, like banging phones. Like then maybe, because there is no relationship, connection, or interaction, really human, reckoning awareness, right, from that standpoint. So then on the call center LO, I think there's still a human element, but they're not getting paid what they're getting paid because they're simply just doing layups. But still, you still have a human there, and if anything, that's the LO that gets disrupted first, but not the in the trenches local loan. And guys, I'm not like, these are always like coming from a point of someone that like has that thinks disruption is needed and whatnot, and has always like gone to the other side of like, hey, when someone says that this would never happen, chances are it's definitely going to happen, especially in our industry. This is not one of those times. I'm not saying it's never going to happen, but if I'm taking at face value just the statement of loan officers being replaced by AI in the next 18 months, not even a fucking chance. Not even
especially this idea. It's weird that there was a clarification made that it was wholesale originators, because that to me, again, like, you could potentially make the argument that all of Loan Depot's consumer direct department, all of Rocket's consumer direct department. Like, you could potentially make the case that all of them will be replaced by AI because, like you said, like basically what you're saying is mortgage companies will become marketing companies, and that's it. And all business will be driven inbound, and none will be done via like outbound sourcing of business. That's essentially what you're saying. And like that to me is a much bolder take than to suggest that like those that are sitting in lead fed environments where the marketing companies are already marketing companies, that those will be replaced. Like that, I'm looking up like top overall lenders by production volume for 2024, and I'm trying to find where Rocket is on this list. Rocket, because okay, so I'm on Scotsman. Do you know this? I'm on Scotsman. I want to know like the top mortgage companies by volume, and then look at like the percentage of like, I'm pretty sure nobody has more than like 10 to 12% overall mortgage market share. And that would, if it was, that would be Rocket. And so again, you could potentially make the case that in 18 months, within 18 months, 10 to 12% of mortgages will be originated by AI. But even then, I don't think it's going to happen. I think that, that's very, very sensationalist at best and egregious at worst.
Egregious, huh?
Ooh. Egregious. Don't ask me what that means. It just sounded like the right word for the situation.
It sounds egregious to me.
Outstandingly right? Bad or shocking.
Ludicrous. It is ludicrous that this is happening. But no, I agree with that. Is that from a market share? Now, look, will it take it? Will it dent? And this is I had a talk with my coaching group about this. Will it make a dent in overall production? Sure. Right. And that's a smaller piece of the pie because we're looking at, this year, I think we'll end up somewhere around like 2 trillion, something like that. And I would say that's normal. Now, the reason why that number is a little, is not the same because you're like, oh, if I look back at like 2019, like the number of volume is generally the same. It's a little I don't want to say smoke and mirrors, but the difference is what people don't mention is that the appreciation of home prices has hit quite the accelerator over that time. And so even though you're dealing with the same amount of volume, and that's what people are like, volume. No. Look at units, and units are drastically down overall comparably, right? And so, because you're not fighting over the volume as much as people and lenders, and I'll never understand why, you're fighting over units. And so, because the volume's going to come, right? So it's like, how many at-bats conversations do I get to close that unit? Volume naturally comes after. The chase volume is stupid, in my opinion, because it negates the actual like what you need to do, which is focusing on the units, right? And so even though the market share isn't going to be great, this is also another thing about market share is that, and what I've said in my group is that, look, like you look at like Better, right? Who does a lot of AI and talk to, and is definitely on the like loan officers suck and loan officers are going to be gone type deal, right? And their consumer direct focus, like, and I think this last quarter they did $1 billion or something like that. I can't remember what the cost was, but they're doing a hefty amount of, they're losing money, but they're doing a hefty amount of volume. But here's the thing is that like, even though like if I take a better market share of what do they have, may not be a lot, but like $1 billion is a lot of volume taken out of their traditional pipeline that the traditional, originators would be competing against. Right. And so you take that, compound that, and then other call center shops, and you got like Amerisave, you got like Veterans United, you got Rocket, you got other, high end call center type operations. Then you're talking billions, right? And billions upon billions. And then you're like, okay, well, tens of billions. And that's a lot of units taken out of the traditional pipeline. So it's a smaller pie. So at some point, like, yes, that's going to disrupt. That's going to cause. But again, it's not a replacement conversation. It's more of like, you just got to be better. And this goes back to the classic. The first person I heard say this was Dave Savage way back in the day. And I agree with him then. I agree with it now. But I think it's like, at some point you're like, all right, like, when is that going to happen? That is like, hey, technology is not going to replace the loan officer, but a loan officer that uses technology will replace a loan officer who doesn't, right? Now, I agree to that to a certain extent because I've seen it happen, right? But also there's little elements, and people are like, oh, we've been talking about that for like a decade. We have, but also we have to take into account that the technology that we have in the industry sucks by and large, right? So it's not like it's really adding, and if anything, our technology stack is added to the cost of manufacturing, the cost to the consumer and everything, because it's usually outdated. It usually focuses on solving the wrong problem, or not solving a problem at all. It's a solution in search of a problem. But like all this efficiency and whatever, it's just not understanding the dynamic of our industry. So I think AI goes hand in hand with that, is that, look, technology hasn't replaced shit really when it comes down to it, like at scale, the way that we've talked about. And AI, even though I think is writing at a massively faster pace than anything we've ever experienced before. But with that, we haven't really even hit true critical mass, and we haven't hit what's always happens with something like this, and that's the chaos of fragmentation, when everyone starts to do the AI LM their way. Right.
Yep.
And then what's going to be the best? It's like, DVD versus HD disc, and, like laser disc versus whatever. Oh, you went black on me, buddy.
I saw that. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm listening.
Yep. So, yeah, guys, just so you know, like, Michael has an awesome setup at his office. Like, it really looks nice, but like audio, video, just something we got to deal with here on the MLO project. But Mike's a trooper. He'll get it fixed. Oh, there we go. He's back.
I'm back. I'm back.
Yeah.
So I did do.
What did you do?
I don't know how that happened. I already said I'm having technical difficulties every morning. But I did want to clarify, because I looked on Redder, and I don't know how, again, I don't know the accuracy of this, or like whether it considers wholesale as well. But if you look at Rocket, and let's assume it only includes retail, because that would be, in my opinion, the one that's most susceptible to this disruption or replacement, if we want to call it that. Rocket Mortgage ranks number 1 with 3.86% market share. Behind them is PHH. Now, and it's PHH from volume. Now, isn't PHH like high net worth banking, like mortgages? Like, okay, So tell me that AI is going to replace that, right? Like, no. That, like, not a freaking chance. Like, that's always going to be relationship driven. Then it's cross country. Cross country doesn't even have a consumer direct division worth talking about, at least. Yep. And then after that is DHI, which I think is DR Horton's mortgage company. So builders, and again, builders are going to be the last that feel like they need to implement something like this. So again, I just like, mathematically, it doesn't make sense. If you're listening to this and like reconsidering your career because of it, please just consider the messenger and their potential, like, if you hear somebody else say this, right? Obviously, we're the messengers in this case and telling you it's bullshit. But if you hear this out in the marketplace, consider the messenger, consider the intent behind it, and like what they have in, what's in it for them, and spreading a message like this, because it's just so far-fetched. It's not even funny, in my opinion.
Yep. No, 100% agree. But guys, we want to know what you think about this. So contact us if you want to have this conversation about AI, because I know sometimes we'll get, someone walk up saying, hey, I love the podcast. Oh, I would love to talk about this or whatever. And then, nothing happens. So, hey, if you're that person that wants to talk about this, that you have an opinion on this, let us know. Like, we'll bring you on. We'll have it out. This is an open challenge to anybody. I don't say challenge because I don't mean it that way, but here's an open invitation to anyone that disagrees with the stuff that we're talking about. Because I would love the debate. Like, I love having that stuff. Because, hey, maybe I changed my mind, right? Maybe you make a solid argument that changes my perspective, because I always say that the greatest superpower that I have, or that anyone could have, is the ability to change their mind. But I love these types of conversations, especially when it's something a little bit of a, I don't want to say clickbait, but one of those egregious headlines, those egregious statements. This is an egregious episode, but yeah. So guys, with that, we're going to wrap up this episode. And remember, if you want to come on here, you have a guest, you have a topic you want to talk about, let us know. Everything is in the show notes on how to connect with us. And a shout out to the MLO project for being brought to you by Empower LO, HL4 and MLO Hub, the backbone of the movement that we are creating to empower LOs to be the best versions of themselves. So on behalf of Mr. McAllister, I am Frazier, and we will see you at the top. Take care.